Hey everyone, and welcome back to another deep dive. Today we are going to be tackling something that so many of you have written in about.
Yeah.
And it's this idea of like I can watch movies.
hmm
I can understand conversations in English,
Right.
but when it comes to actually speaking it myself,
Uh-huh.
I feel like I hit a wall.
Yeah. You freeze up.
And so we have a really great podcast episode that we're going to use as our source material today.
Absolutely.
And we're going to pull out some of the best advice tips,
Yep.
tricks, all that good stuff to help you move from, understanding to actually producing the language yourself.
I think what's so interesting is that when you can already understand English,
Yeah.
you've already built this amazing foundation.
Yeah, you're like halfway there.
Yeah, you're miles ahead of somebody starting from scratch.
Absolutely.
And the podcast that we're looking at today
Yeah.
actually talks about this as the difference between passive skills and active skills.
Right, and that's where that wall comes in.
Yeah.
Because listening is passive.
Exactly.
Just taking it in.
You're just soaking it in.
But speaking is active.
You're building.
Having to build it.
You're putting those words together
Yeah.
in real time.
And it's scary.
It is. It's scary.
Like, oh my gosh, all these rules,
Yeah.
grammar, vocabulary. Am I using the right tense? Am I,
Right.
know,
Are people going to judge me?
exactly.
Mhm.
And you mentioned earlier, this fear of making mistakes.
Uh-huh.
And the podcast really stresses that.
Yeah.
Everyone makes mistakes.
Absolutely. And the podcast.
It is part of the process.
It's so important to reframe
Yeah.
that idea of making mistakes as like this negative thing
Mhm.
into something that's actually positive.
I love that.
It's a stepping stone,
Yeah.
and some of the best stories are about mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
Like, do you remember when JFK famously said, "Ich bin ein Berliner,"
Oh, yeah.
which he meant to say, "I am a citizen of Berlin," but he actually said, "I am a jelly donut."
Yeah.
And it was this blunder, but it became this iconic moment,
It's so true.
you
Like, we remember those things
We do.
because they're funny. They're
Yeah.
human.
Exactly.
And it's like, oh, yeah, you messed up, but it's okay. We all do it.
Exactly.
You
They're
know?
part of it.
So we got to just kind of like
Embrace it.
embrace the mistakes and kind of use them as fuel
Yeah, feel for learning.
to keep going.
Absolutely.
So we've talked about, this fear and this idea of, making mistakes. But then there's also this like thing that I do where I
Oh.
try to translate from my native language to English
Okay, yeah.
in my head. And that really slows me down.
That's super common.
Yeah.
And it makes total sense. But the podcast really emphasizes like the fact that sentence structures
Hmm.
are different in different languages. So when
Hmm.
you're translating word for word,
Uh-huh.
you're going to run into trouble.
It's never going to come out right.
It's not going to sound natural. So what do we do about it?
Right. What is the advice?
The advice is you have to start thinking in English.
Okay. But how do I do that?
So it's a bit like learning to drive.
Oh.
First, you're thinking about every single step.
Yeah.
Clutch, gas, brake, mirror signal maneuver.
Oh my gosh. So many things.
And over time,
Yeah.
with practice, it becomes automatic.
Like second nature.
Exactly. And it's the same with English.
Okay.
So start small, start with simple sentences,
Okay. Give me an example.
like narrate your day in your head. You're brushing your teeth.
Yeah.
Say, I am brushing my teeth.
Okay.
You're making coffee. I need coffee.
I love that.
Just these little things to get your brain thinking in that language.
That's a great tip. So I'm starting to think in English. I'm practicing simple phrases. Is that enough?
It's a really great start,
Okay.
but the podcast really emphasizes that you need to have real conversations.
Yeah.
Like you can't just be in your head all the time. You've got to get out there and use it.
Yeah.
Like remember that analogy that speaking is a muscle.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You've got to exercise it.
You got to flex it.
You got to flex it.
Yeah. But where do I find people to talk to?
Right. Well, luckily, there are so many options these days.
Okay.
There are language exchange apps
Yeah.
like HelloTalk or Tandem where you can connect with native speakers.
Oh, that's cool.
You could join online groups or communities that are centered around your interests. And believe it or not, you can even practice with AI chatbots
Oh, wow.
like ChatGPT.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. That's a really good idea. So it sounds like we have no excuse
We have no excuse.
not to be out there flexing our speaking muscles.
Yeah.
So to recap our deep dive today, what are the key takeaways?
The key takeaways are practice daily,
Okay.
even if it's just for a few minutes. Embrace those mistakes,
Yes.
like hidden treasures.
I love that.
Start thinking in English,
Right.
even for the simplest tasks,
All right.
and find ways to have real conversations.
Yeah, go.
Get out there and talk.
Absolutely. And you know what I would add to that is think about today. What is one small step that you can take to speak English a little bit more confidently?
Right.
Is it downloading that app? Is it, saying hello to somebody at the coffee shop in English? Whatever it is, just take that small step. And remember, every word you speak is a victory.
It is.
You've got this.
You've got this.
You've got this.
Keep practicing, and we'll see you in the next deep dive. Bye, everybody.